Welcome back to God of War 3. Um, Continuing our journey through Hades, I guess. Or close to Hades, or... They don't explain this very well.
Within the vicinity.
In
We're
the...
still around
In
Hades'
the...
domain, because,
Yeah.
there's statues of him all over the place, so.
Yeah.
So, like, is the entire game just climbing up from where you fell to get back
Yeah,
up to
basically.
Olympus? So
Yeah, basically.
you just fall into the Olympus basement and you're climbing up to the rooftop floor.
Yeah, basically.
Basement is so unrefined. Cellar.
That's a little bit more straightforward and not quite as adventurous. And I know I keep saying that word, but not quite as adventurous as what was going on in God of War 1, where there were a couple different locations that you had to go to, rather than, just being in one place and advancing
Well, how would you
through it.
define adventurous? What dictates adventurous? Is it the quality of the journey?
It's not.
Is it the stuff
It's
you do
not
in the
really
journey?
exactly the quality so much as the feeling evoked by the content. I brought up Wind Waker's sailing, for instance,
Yeah.
and that by itself implies a vastness and scope to the thing that,
I'm going to take an adventure to my fridge for some snacks.
right?
So, you mentioning Wind Waker and the sailing, I'm gonna go. This is episode 5012 of Ted Goes Off on a Random Literature Tangent. The beginning of Moby Dick, Ishmael says, I wanted to go sailing because it was adventurous. And one of the first things one of the sailors at the beginning of the story says to him is, look at the water. Yup. Cool. That's all the adventure you get when you're on the boat. Have fun.
Yeah.
So, I don't really think that had a point, but adventure. Yeah, adventure is an inherently vague kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's
it
more
is.
of a feeling.
Another game that does sense of adventure pretty well, though, just in terms of the context, is Ratchet and Clank, where every level is a planet, right? But they make sure you feel like you're going from planet to planet by having the level select be like an actual like navigation menu on your ship. And, when they're loading the next level, they show your ship flying through space. It was a simple thing, but it underlined the concept and made it feel like you were on a grand journey.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
I generally like when games do that, when they attempt to make the game feel organic. You were talking about Super Mario 3D World, and this is a small thing that could easily be taken as a nitpick, but in a game like Super Mario 3D World, you just literally go from level to level in a level select, versus in a game like Mario Odyssey, there's a hub where there's a ship where you fly from kingdom to kingdom. And again,
Yeah.
Functionally, is it the same thing? Yes,
Yeah, pretty
but
much.
the feeling evoked by it makes one feel like you're on a globe-trotting adventure, and the other feel like this is a collection of levels.
You're bringing up
Effectively.
Super Mario Odyssey, though, which does like pretty much exactly the same thing Ratchet and Clank did.
Yeah, that's probably why I thought of it.
It does also help in Odyssey's case, though, that the map screen is a travel brochure. Like that was always a nice touch. Like every time I go to a new level, I just open it up and read the little things along the side. And it's like, yeah, you knock down this big stone pillar in Cascade Kingdom to get where you're going. Well, if you look at the map screen, you'll find that it's a timeless, like, national treasure of a monument that you just knocked over to get from point A to B. So,
That
No
game's
fucks given.
that game's good. That was a very good game.
Yes, it was.
I don't think I'll ever go back and 100% it anytime soon, but I greatly enjoyed it.
why did we just smash cut back to the lever?
Because I fiddled around for a bit, not really sure what to do.
Okay.
I have you now, Hades.
You have my right arm. Damn
I
it.
remember when you were more active. It's like I'm not even fighting you at all.
That's not me, Kratos.
Who said that? He's playing tricks on me.
But
So
yeah,
since we opened the grate, we gotta go get the stones again.
Oh, great.
Remembering what you did beforehand.
Enemies. I must be going the right way.
Yep.
I'm
That's
glad
usually how it works in these games.
glad I'm not the only one who thinks that.
Yeah. Every time you got to revisit an area, if it's for story beats or progression, if there are now enemies in a spot there where it currently weren't, you're doing something right.
Yeah,
Okay,
pretty
so-
much.
or in this case, you're doing something wrong because you want to go the other path and get the goodies at the end of it.
So, okay, question. Am I the only one here? And I'm sure the answer is no. But
No, there's 3 of us also
Yeah.
with you.
yeah, but when it comes to like whenever you're in a game where like the map auto-fills whenever you're exploring, you know, in like little chunks, where if you see a hallway that you haven't been down and there's a treasure chest over there, you'll ignore the treasure chest on purpose just so that, you know, you see that there's an empty spot on your map that you can walk down later and you don't forget to go down there, as opposed to getting the treasure chest right away.
If I see it and I miss it, I immediately go back for it.
Yeah, but
If it's within the realms of feasibility.
yes, but you don't understand. What if I forget to go back there? I need to have the map be empty so that I know, oh, I haven't explored that area yet.
I mean, how old is the game we're talking about? Is it modern?
No,
'Cause
this
most
is-
of the time, it will probably have waypoints
Yeah.
that you can put yourself on the map.
Well, I mean, I do this in all sorts of games where I'm like, I will very purposefully make sure that I explore everything in the room I'm in, and I will
Yeah.
leave certain things alone and not touch them, even if they're glowing at me, to make sure.
I can't, because that might be something I could use for the next area, like, immediately.
Yeah, but then how else am I going to know that I haven't been there yet, John?
You remember.
I'll look at the map and try to remember.
That sounds no. That sounds.
I mean,
I mean, my
to be
memories-
fair, when I was playing Hollow Knight for my channel, that game has so many fucking sub areas within sub areas.
Dude,
that-
I don't know how people played that game without the markers system, like the little what are they called? The little badges you can put on. Because like when I played the game, I played it when it ported to Switch, and it had those little marker things, and they were like one of my favorite things about the game, because I could, if I found something and I didn't know like where, like how to get whatever it was that was there, I left a little marker there, and it was just like, wow, this is great, because there's so many secrets in that game, and apparently they weren't there when the game first started. It's just like, how did anybody remember anything to find in that game without those? That is also a very good game, but it's also like 20 hours long or more.
Like 25 hours long.
Yeah, it's a long game. It's probably the longest. No, I was gonna say it's probably the longest Metroidvania I've played, but I think what's that other game called? Bloodstained is also up there in terms of.
Bloodstained is not 25 hours long.
That game took me a long ass time to beat, dude. Hold on a moment. Let me pull up my Switch and see how long my playtime for that ended
We'll
up
call
being.
it like difficult. 'Cause I don't know how much of you played those games before Bloodstained, because Bloodstained only took me 12 hours.
Well, you're good at video games, and
I like Metroidvanias.
yeah, I've played too many games since playing Bloodstained for my Switch activity to show me how many hours it took. So unfortunately, I cannot currently tell you how many hours it took me to beat Bloodstained, but it took me at least 20. I was pretty thorough when I was playing that game. I wanted to find
Yeah, it
all
took
of
about-
the secrets.
Took me
That's what I
about-
mean. It's like it took me 12 hours to do all that.
Took me about 15.
Yeah, because you're good at video games.
I like Metroidvanias.
Yes. And you're good at them. Unlike me,
I like
who is not
Metroidvanias.
good at them.
Well, it also
Take
just
that,
depends on
Clancy
your
Brown.
playstyle. Like, I'm super meticulous and pretty relaxed when it comes to the pace of how I take on certain kinds of games, which is why it took me, 200 hours to beat Persona
All right,
5.
so let's sit down and talk about the boss concept with this. Okay, so you're fighting Hades, right? And you rip the tit out of him, and there's a sequence where he has to magnetically attract that tit back to his body so he can continue fighting.
Did you say tick or tit?
Tit.
Tit. You rip the tit out of him.
Because it... okay.
I mean, that is what we're doing. Ripped off his, like, part of his chest.
Gross.
And then we beat up that part of the chest because it was trying to get back to him.
I like how Kratos can apparently just tug of war his soul back into his own body, because that's how
There's something you could just grab.
that's how souls work.
It's because his will is as strong as
Hey, I mean,
strongness.
to be fair, Lewis, how do souls work?
Not physically,
How do you know?
because they're not physical objects.
How do you know?
Because they're not.
What's the basis?
It is a ghost thing.
Ghosts can be physical.
No, they can't.
Yeah, that's the entire point of ghosts.
No, they're not. They're
They
like,
they can phase through people. There are physical objects that can go through solid matter.
what?
Yeah, there are objects small enough to fit in between the atoms in your body and go through you. They're still physical and have mass. So your
That's-
soul could
yeah.
be like
What?
that.
Made up of so many of those things that it still looks solid, but isn't.
I
That
mean,
shouldn't
yeah.
work.
Yeah, a lot of things shouldn't work.
I'm just saying, if you're gonna say souls don't work that way, you gotta back up your claims with some actual facts and science, man.
Yeah, there's
So,
not
source your, research and stuff.
MLA format. None of that Chicago bullshit. All right.
Whatever, man. Ghosts don't die.
You can't hold me.
Wikipedia
Are you-
is not a resource.
Yeah. Are you gonna try to defend the Chicago citation style with me, Lewis?
I don't
Please.
even know what the Chicago citation style looks like.
Exactly. It's terrible. Like, literally the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, oh, I forget the one that, like, scientists and psychologists are supposed to use. I forget what that one's called. I don't like that one either, but at least that one makes sense for science purposes. The Chicago one's for, like, hipster, like, sociologists and stuff or whatever who just don't feel like citing stuff the normal way because, oh, they need to be special and have their own style.
This is kind of an interesting sequence where one of your chains is stuck in the boss, and you have to fight with the other one while trying to keep your footing in front of this pit. This is actually, like, really tense looking.
Do they ever do anything like
the
this
size
again?
not matter at all.
No.
What the fuck is this shit?
They never do this again? Oh.
Well, no, every boss battle I think has something unique to it.
No,
Is-
this specific gameplay thing.
Is every boss fight in this game, or most of them at least, just the different gods?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I get it. Part of me feels like that's a little bit more boring. I say about killing literal gods. You know,
Oh,
oh,
it's like
man.
Scott Pilgrim and it's Zeus and his 7 evil exes.
His 7 evil exes.
Wow, he only had 7?
Well, the 7 around at the time. Mine.
Wait, are those crowbars?
The hooks.
When you say that, he used voice.
Kratos Freeman, who was Gordon Freeman's brother. Oh,
All right, I forgot Hades was voiced by Clancy Brown in
Do
this
they?
game.
Okay, do these have the same moveset, or are they slightly different?
I mean, same general moveset: square for light, triangle for heavy,
Yeah, well,
etc., etc.
yeah, but do they feel the same, basically?
Relatively.
I feel like different weapons is one of the biggest things about these kinds of games that give them their replayability and depth, ultimately, is knowing which weapons to use when and getting good at all of them.
Can I just
Like,
say that I've never been a super big fan of God of War's, little, like, the thing the gods do where they, like, grow into giant Power Rangers monsters at a moment's notice. That thing, it's always been a bit hokey to me.
I mean, I get it. You need to have big monsters and stuff for this kind of game.
The one thing that I always find that a lot of games kind of fail on is when you're fighting a giant monster at such close proximity. There's always the usual, well, why doesn't he just try and grab me, snap me in half? What are these swipes? What are these ground pounds? Like, this fight should be over of him just trying to grab us.
I also never get why in video games, why big monsters like these are always so slow. Because I get that, like, many big animals really aren't that slow. Like, hold on, let me look up what an elephant's running speed is on Google right now. So, an elephant can run up to 25 miles an hour, which is a hell of a lot faster than I can run. So, the idea that when something this big should be slow, that's not how it works. So, it's just like, oh, when big stuff in video games is like, and it's moving its arm really, really slowly to try to hit you. I just never really kind of got that. I mean, I get it in terms of gameplay. It's there so that you can actually dodge the attack, but I feel like
when creatures get like really big, I'm talking dinosaur big, there comes a problem where it becomes more difficult for a creature to control its own momentum, because it's
certainly true.
Because its own weight is an obstacle. So
The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
So when you get like giant boss monster big, that does to a certain degree make sense that their movement would be not necessarily slow but cumbersome.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
That's so, it's so bizarre thinking about. It's like we have fantastical concepts like gigantic creatures like the size of skyscrapers that still adhere to realistic laws of physics.
I mean, it makes sense if you were a gigantic colossus and you kicked something.
Well,
the inertia from that kick would probably knock him on his ass.
It's not as if creatures that large are impossible, though. We already know that Brachiosaurus existed. So, and that was an animal that was so big that it constantly had to be eating. So, yeah.
This tangent and more in the next part of God of War 3.
Probably not the specific tangent, but
No.